Good evening, class. Hope all is well. Tonight, we're going to discuss the concept of value stream mapping. It's one of the essential tools for Lean, and in particular for our course in Lean in Healthcare. So, as we've talked about before, but I want to reiterate, the goal of Lean, and this is a definition from Lean Enterprise Institute, is to maximize customer value while minimizing waste. And so what we're going to learn today is that the value stream map is one of the tools that's going to help us achieve the main objective of Lean. So as part of that journey of maximizing customer value, we want to eliminate waste along the entire value stream. So today we're going to talk about what the value stream is and then how to construct that value stream. Let's start by refreshing our discussion about the 5 principles of Lean. So the 5 principles of Lean start with specifying value from the perspective of the customer. Step 2, and this is what we're going to focus on tonight, is map the value stream. And what that means is map all of the steps, value added and non-value added, that bring the product or service to the customer. In subsequent lessons, we'll talk about how to establish flow, implement pull, work towards perfection, because we never arrive at perfection, and then continue our journey from there. So Edward Deming, who really helped create the Toyota production system, which is essentially what Lean is in the United States, had this quote: "If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing." And so the value stream map helps us understand step by step in great detail what a value stream map is. And the key thing to keep in mind is we're always trying to look at it from the customer's perspective, because sometimes people get confused about the perspective. I'm going to go through an example a little bit later about the expense reimbursement process at MCPHS University. And it's a very detailed process, but the person who designed it really did not think about the customer. And so we can see that there's a lot of inefficiency and waste in the process. And again, when we talk about Lean and value stream maps, we're talking about the relentless elimination of waste. And so waste is using resources without adding value, and adding value is in the customer's mind. So not in our minds, but from the perspective of the customer. So if you think about it from the perspective of a patient, for example, who visits a doctor's office, examples of waste would be that anytime they have to wait in the waiting room, anytime they have to they have to go and have tests done at another location. And so we have to be vigilant about it and constantly be attacking how do we remove those wastes so the flow in the process is much more efficient and cost effective. So we always want to keep in mind who the customer is and put things together from their perspective. And so we can map out many things. We can map out products, we can map out services, or we can map out how a customer experiences certain things. In healthcare, we're gonna look at things from the patient's perspective and how things flow. And so what we're gonna essentially do, and this is as far as we're gonna get in this lesson, is we're gonna talk about the current state. So we're gonna look at the current state of where things are. And then in future lessons, we're gonna talk about applying some of the Lean basic tools to get to a future state, a much more efficient state. So you can see that on the left-hand side, we have many steps in the process. After we've attacked the waste, we're going to have a much smoother and efficient process, and where we've eliminated many of the non-value added steps from the customer's perspective. So one of the key tips, sometimes this is called Gemba, but it means going to the actual location and walking through the process yourself. Okay, so that's why I have the shoes here. You want to walk the process. This is not something you hire a consultant to do. This is not something you delegate to somebody else. It's something that you do yourself, step by step. Okay, the other thing you want to bring with you is a pencil and yellow stickies, because essentially what we're going to do is use pencil and yellow stickies, because as we learn each step in the process and then we put it up on a value stream mapping sheet, we're going to want to be able to make some changes as we learn more about things. So here it is: gather customer information, get with the process owners and draw through this process sequence, capture the sequence on a Post-it note, walk the process. Post-it notes, use a pencil and eraser. So here's an example of what a value stream map would look like. This is a very complex process, but you can see that these are Post-it notes, and it's a step-by-step process of a particular operation. Could be a visit to a hospital, could be waiting for a service at a healthcare operation, or it could be a manufacturing process as well. So one of the key things to keep in mind is there is no right answer. So you can see that value stream maps come in all different shapes and forms. The key is to give perspective and visualization so that everybody can see the steps in the process flow. And that's one of the reasons that we use yellow stickies and pencil, is that as we share this current state with other people, people may say, oh, you missed this step, or this actually belongs over here. So we want the flexibility of moving that yellow sticky from one location to the other, or erasing things and putting the correct information in. So once we've mapped out the value stream map, we're going to use these little dots, green, yellow, and red. The green dots are going to be things that add value from the customer's perspective. The yellow and red are going to be things that do not add value from the customer's perspective. Yellow, we're not going to be able to eliminate immediately, but we're going to try to minimize it and over time eliminate it, because this might be some essential activity that cannot be easily eliminated. And then red are things like wait time, inventory, rework, excess checkoff. These we want to eliminate. So what's important is that we also understand the wastes. So Lean defines 7 wastes, and we're going to talk about this in great detail in another session. But essentially, those 7 wastes can be broken up into overproduction, transportation, motion, waiting, processing, inventory, or defects. So again, we're not going to go through the details here tonight, but if you think about attacking waste in the system, there's a framework here that's going to help us understand exactly what we mean by waste. And then we're going to look at every step in the value stream process, and we're going to determine, is this something that adds value from the customer's perspective? If it does, we'll put a green dot on it. If it does not, then we'll put either a yellow or a red dot on it. Some things may not add value to the customer's perspective, but we may still have to do them anyway. So it may be a regulatory issue, or it may be a legal issue, but nevertheless, we want to identify it as waste from the customer's perspective. So here's a working example. I work at MCPH University as a faculty member, so I do some traveling. And one of the things that is very frustrating to many people who travel at the university is the tedious process of the reimbursement for the expenses that we incur while we travel. So what I've done here, and again, we'll do this in class. I'll actually walk you through step by step how I created this value stream map. But tonight I'm just going to introduce the concept. But I've laid out every step in the reimbursement process, and so I've identified 26 unique steps. And what I've done is I've created yellow stickies for each step in the process. And so now what we'll do when we're in class is we'll put a green, yellow, or red dot from the customer's perspective. And one of the key things to keep in mind is who's the customer here. So I'm going to take the perspective that the customer is the traveler. the student, the faculty member, the staff who travels. And his or her goal is to get reimbursed in an efficient manner. And what we're going to find is that when we go back and look at the 7 wastes of lean, there's lots of waste in this process. Okay. So here I've listed out the green, the yellow, and the red, and you can see that there are very few green steps here. So of the 26 steps that I've identified, there's only 6 or 7 that are actually value add from the customer's perspective. So then we have to work out a plan as to how we're going to actually eliminate that waste. Okay, so looking forward to seeing you all in class, and we'll work through a couple of examples at that time. Thank you for your time, and all the best.